Hey.
Hey team, thanks for coming together today. We have Amy Sage and team talking to us about taking care of yourself. So Amy, I heard you say earlier that taking care of yourself is not selfish.
It's not selfish. No, we're going to talk about it. And I was thinking it was so interesting because in October, we had kind of kicked off our parent ed with, it was a little bit about what the kids were sharing, but it also was about self-care. So I thought how ironic that we kicked off the year and we started talking about self-care, and now we're kind of wrapping up also talking about it. So it was important then, and it's even more important now. So, our children are really sensitive and they really pick up, they're observant. And so they're feeling our feelings, they're feeling our tension, our anxieties. It's very obvious, obviously, things are very different than what they typically are. And so when we say we don't have time for this kind of stuff, we've heard about self-care, but if you think of it as the idea of, I need to be a good role model for my kids because this is good for them, and they're going to only learn this really by watching me model it, then it kind of maybe helps you make some time to do it. The other thing is Mrs. Nocon and I have been doing check-ins with the kids, and the overwhelming feedback from the kids is that they are just loving time with their family, and not just like, I'm at home in my pajamas hanging out. Like, we are doing activities we never did. I'm doing games we've never played. Like, you're creating this really great environment. And so, I know it's overwhelming. I have 2 elementary age kids. I feel very overwhelmed, but I also keep remembering they're going to look back at this small time in our lives, and we want to say, like, what are they getting out of this? What are they learning from this? What is your family going to say? What new traditions do you have? What new activities did you do? Because they're really noticing that. And so when we start to feel overwhelmed, to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what can we learn from this experience, and what are my kids getting out of it right now? And then hopefully that will kind of help steer you a little bit more towards maybe what you want to be doing. So, self-care is it's just so important. Okay. Sometimes I go forward and sometimes I don't. So sorry about that. Okay, so let's back up. So this quote has been my mantra for the last, I think, 4 weeks. Being at peace is my greatest strength. I'm going to say it again. Being at peace is my greatest strength. And it's not because everything is going well. It's not peaceful. I basically picture myself, because it feels like I'm in the middle of a tornado, and the tornado is happening and life is happening, but I'm in the middle and I'm calm, and I have found a sense of peace, because when I'm at peace, then I can help step out into the tornado. It's a strength that I now can help solve these problems, work with what's going on. But if I'm not in a place of peace, then how am I going to help solve and help all the people that I want to devote my time to? So it's really helped me. And I'm going to play this video so we can just learn a little bit about self-care.
When was the last time you were stressed out? I take that as on your way here. Maybe you were on your way to work, running late and stuck in traffic. Or were you at home paying your monthly bills? Maybe you were just watching the 5 o'clock news. Your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty, your stomach jumps into your throat. We experience these body sensations so often, we don't even know the difference now. So indulge me for a minute. If you have anything in your hands, just set it aside. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Close your eyes. Inhale with me, in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. When you're ready, open your eyes. Congratulations, you just practiced self-care. It can be that simple. Unfortunately, the $10 billion self-care industry doesn't want you to think so. There's this myth that's fed by Instagram posts and countless advertisements that self-care is a spa day, pedicures and Prosecco, a weekend-long Netflix binge, anything pumpkin spice related. All these indulgences are great, but they're not self-care. We're left chasing these perfect self-care experiences, and they don't actually restore us. So we're left with a question: if that's not self-care, what is self-care, and how do I practice it? Self-care is deliberately taking care of your well-being through restorative activities. One of the greatest threats for our well-being is physical and emotional stress. Stress is one of the leading causes of healthcare issues in America. And we experience it every day. We experience stress by what we put in our bodies, what we put on our bodies, the thoughts that we think, and the choices that we make throughout our day. Some of the most stressful things that we can put in our bodies are sugar, alcohol, excessive caffeine, and processed foods. Those are also some of the most consumed items in America. So with all this stress impacting our immune system, our energy levels, our emotional well-being, it's essential that our self-care practice does the opposite.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody's willing to share, maybe how stress has been impacting them in these last couple of weeks, but then also have they found something? They talked about, restorative practices, which are the healthy eating and the sleeping and, just having moments of stillness and exercise and doing things good for your heart. So if there's things that, you want to share, maybe what's been stressing you out, but then also what have you found that may be helpful during this time? Anybody's willing?
So, Amy, I've been working on some home projects, and that's been really helpful. We've ripping up some carpet and laying down some new wood, but just the idea that you're creating something that wasn't there before is super fulfilling, and that's one of the things that's been helpful for me.
Mm-hmm. Great. Does anybody else want to share?
One of the things that's really helped me, I guess, is we used to take walks even before, and the kids would ride their bikes, but it was never like this intentional, let all four of us kind of get out there together. But I can say for the last probably 30 odd days, every evening, we've spent at least an hour and a half together outside walking, either us walking together, around the blocks 100 times, or our kids riding our bikes with us and walking. Basically, we've gotten a chance to kind of find this like hour and a half block together where we're not talking a whole lot, but there's just so much quality and richness in that hour and a half that we're together. We don't have to say a whole lot, but it's so refreshing as such. So really, it's become the most thing that we're most looking forward to every day now. So.
And the kids, that'll probably be the main thing they remember during this time too. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be impactful. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? I think there was a chat. Somebody comment. I can't see it anymore. Joe, can you see what it says on the chat?
Yeah, walking and bike riding from Jen.
Good. All right, great. So what a lot of this is a really important slide that we've been talking with the kids about too, is distinguishing what you can control from what you can't control, especially in this time. And so what we've been doing with the kids during our check-ins is we have a rock and they can bring a hard item, and then we have a squishy, or I've talked about it as like Play-Doh or squishy, anything that you can influence. And so what we've been talking with the kids about is, okay, so what are my rock problems? What are things I can't control? On this screen it says, how other people behave, how other people feel, other people's decisions. We can't physically go to school. We can't go to baseball. We can't have play dates like we normally do. So no matter what I do to this rock, I can bend it, I can move it, I can do whatever I want. It's not going to change. And so I use the idea with the kids is it's like banging your head against the rock and hoping that the rock will change, and the rock is not going to change. And so now what you have done is cause pain to yourself. It didn't help anything. It didn't make anything better, but now it's hurt yourself. So then we kind of teach them how to name it. So when something comes up like, oh, I wish I could, baseball was this weekend. That sounds like a rock problem. But then here's my squishy, my Play-Doh, my soft doll. This is something that I have influence over. I can mold, I can do. So as far as things I can control, how much news I watch, how much social media, where I'm directing, my energy, where I'm handling my own feelings. Sometimes our thoughts and our feelings are actual rock problems. We don't necessarily control them. They come, we ride the wave, and we let them pass, and then our reaction is our squishy, our reaction to those. But our thoughts come, our fears come, our emotions come. Those are rocks most of the time because we can't stop them, nor should we. We just have to ride them, ride it out like a wave on an ocean, and then focus on what we can control. And so the more that we do that, the more we see how impactful and powerful we are in our day-to-day. So I feel like that's been helpful for the kids. And then you can kind of use that as language in your house. So here's the self-care isn't selfish. You can't give from what you don't have. And so you really do have to kind of fill up your cup before you can give it to other people. And so you've probably seen a lot of these mental health reminders. And even in the beginning, I felt like, oh, it was so nice to not have to get up and get ready and get dressed. But then you realize that becomes a part of your normal, you're feeling like you're doing your routine. And so keeping these things up can really make a difference. You have hopefully chances to eat healthy now. If you haven't been making those choices, knowing that that's better than, as the video had said, more than processed foods, more than sugar, that's going to help us. We're so fortunate to live in San Diego. We can get fresh air, being creative, like Joe and everybody was sharing. They're doing things they maybe haven't had time to do before, things that are good for your heart. And then this balance of unplugging, but yet staying connected. So yes, we want to stay connected to family and friends, checking on people, but also at the same time, where are our boundaries and how do we cut that off and unplug and just have time for us? Especially, we used to drive home, most of us, from work, and that was kind of the end of the day and then the start of family time. But now you have to make that distinction yourself. And then reaching out, because, we have to also know when we get to the point where we just can't handle all of it on our own, and that it's okay to reach out and to ask for help. So there is a great website called actionforhappiness.org. And they've done a lot of studies on positive psychology. This is about the 10 keys to happier living. They have courses in happiness. You can sign up and get a 10-day happiness challenge. You get a virtual coach, which is pretty cool. They email you every day and ask you to do stuff. And so they have identified 10 keys to happier living. So first one is giving, doing things for others, relating, connecting with others, exercising, taking care of your body, awareness, living life mindfully, trying out new things, direction, having goals, resilience, finding ways to bounce back, emotions, trying to stay positive, acceptance, being comfortable with who you are, and then meaning, having something bigger than yourselves. So if we just want to take a minute right now and see if one of those maybe stands out for you more than the others, to say, what in the next week can maybe I do? Can I set an intention that in the next week, I'm just going to try to be more aware of one thing? Because even if we just put our focus, we just put a little bit of our energy, it's amazing how that just kind of grows on its own. So we just have to pick something, consciously think about it. And if you have a piece of paper, if you write it down, it's a little bit more powerful. And so I'm just going to give just 30 seconds to just pick one and then write down an intention around it. And if anybody feels comfortable sharing or not.
Amy, I was going to bed last night and I saw my son and I said, I've been awake for probably 12 hours. And I just talked to you for about 45 seconds in the entire part of the day. And you're in the same house as me. So I didn't feel good about that. So I needed to kind of change my intention around how do I connect inside of my own home with my son. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that reminder.
Mm-hmm. That's a great one. Who we're physically with is not who we're necessarily connecting with. Mm-hmm.
I had interesting parallel experience to Joe in that I am currently with the kids almost every minute of the day. And yet except for the few hours I'm working in the afternoon. And yet I feel this greater calling as a psychologist to be providing right now. And it feels like this constant pull. I mean, just hearing about one of the doctors who died by suicide this week in New York, and the families I'm getting referrals from who have some domestic violence that's popping up, and things are intense. And I can't necessarily take on it as much as I would like to, but I need to find a balance where I've started saying to my kids that this is independent time. This is because I do work. I do have a job. And because it is a greater calling, there is something I really want to find meaning in giving, in pro bono giving, just because this is what our world needs right now. So.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, so we did this with our teachers, a self-care bingo design challenge the day before spring break, because we said, I'm telling you, you have to take time for yourself. And so we kind of came up with an idea of how we create it together. And so what I was thinking is, and maybe instead of us doing it, but this would be something you could do with your own families. And so here's that Action for Happiness website where they have on the calendar, this is called Meaningful May, and they have an ideas for every day, small things you can do for yourself or others in this time. And so maybe that would be something that you guys could sit down as a family and say, hey, either if it looks like a bingo, or we just set a goal of 2 things. I know my husband and I have been wanting to get back into yoga. And so we've, the kids are all gung-ho, and some days they are doing it and they are so great. And then other days they are whining. And then other days they're just sitting there watching us. But I feel like every day, well, not every day, but close to every day, they're there with us doing it. And just by doing it and making it kind of a habit that the more we do it, they don't watch obviously they don't listen to what we say as much as they watch what we do. So just kind of doing that. And if you're showing that you're doing the self-care and you're picking a few things and then you're modeling it for them, something that maybe you guys could do as a family. So, but actionforhappiness.org, that's a great website. All right, and lastly, laughter is the best medicine. And so there's a lot of crazy things happening, and I know there's a lot of sad things, but we also have to focus on what is going well and keeping it positive. And please know that, play and being, when you have especially things that you're worried about or problems you're thinking about, when you play and you relax, those relaxing activities, spark that creativity, and all of a sudden you've solved a problem just by playing it. I'm sure there's a medical, right? There's a whole background to the medical reason why that works, but it's really amazing in how just allowing yourself, giving you that opportunity to play and to relax will make everything else better, even the things that you're worried about. And just knowing that you are doing enough. I don't think we can say that enough to ourselves and other parents and teachers and everybody, that we are all doing enough. The only thing we're probably not doing enough of is taking care of ourselves. And so if you're going to do one other thing, be that it would be to take better care of yourselves, which in turn will be great role models for your kids. Thank you. That's it.